Hey guys, welcome back to Rolling with T-Bone. If you're new here, welcome in. My name's T-Bone. I shoot motorcycle related content, cryptic content, and well, as you'll see if you go through our back catalog, any kind of content really. So today I'm going to talk about something that's kind of been on my mind for the last couple of weeks. I know I've got a lot of people out there in the T-Bone community, the whole Rolling with T-Bone crew. We love music, and we talk music. Guys like Recycle Hooligan, Georgia Hillbilly, Julie Smith, along with others, Tony Munkets. I know these guys and gals listen to music quite a bit. So I want to talk a little bit about what music has done and how it's changed over the years. Hey guys, welcome to Rolling with T-Bone. If you're new here, welcome in. We invite you to check out this video and check out some of our others. If you like what you see, maybe consider subscribing to our channel. If you're old here, welcome back. You know what's going on as we dive into tonight's episode. I hope y'all enjoy. So for me, music has always been probably the solid combination in my life. Everything from AC/DC to Alan Jackson. Everything from Kid Rock to Run DMC. I've listened to everything, and I love everything. If the music's got soul and it's got a beat and it's got something I can listen to in it, I love it. But let's talk about how music's changed. And I'm not just talking, I know you guys saying, T-Bone, you down there in Georgia, so you probably just country music all the way. But, well, I love country music, but I also love other stuff too. But this is going to be just a random episode. We're going to talk about a little bit over the years how music has changed, what's made it changed, and why it's changed. So y'all grab a refreshment, kick back, and let's talk about it. Okay, guys, if I've got everything set up right, we should be doing this thing. So y'all let me know down in the comments, do y'all like the cold openings using the DJI to set up the videos, or T-Bone, or are you just wasting your time? Of course, y'all know I do use y'all for feedback, and I do try to take care of your requests when they come in, as you've seen over the last couple of videos where I covered the Black Shuck for Recycled Hooligan, talked about washing bikes for South Oz Moto last Saturday. I don't know about the Saturday videos, guys. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do them every week. That would put me on a 2 video a week schedule. But when they're feasible and I can do them, I'll try to get them out for you guys. I like that 6:30 in the evening on Saturday timeline, because that kind of is a little bit of an open spot right there, because Moto Bomb Virginia doesn't start his community live streams until 7 o'clock. So that gives me a few minutes to be able to play. But anyway, yeah, man, guys, talk about music. Just a little bit of a backstory, guys. Music has always been a part of my life. It's always been, I come from a musical family. Uncles and cousins who play instruments, play everything from country to gospel to bluegrass. I sang in a band years ago. I used to play the spirit flute, Indian spirit flute, at some shows for an old country musician years ago, a guy named Charlie Stiles. Rest in peace, Charlie. He's gone on to be with the Lord, but Charlie was a million-mile trucker. He hauled sulfuric acid for K&S tank lines for a lot of years. But I sung in his band, kind of did my own thing there for a little while. I know what y'all are thinking, wrestling, singing, firefighting. I wasn't one of those guys back in the day who just sat idle. If I wanted to do something, I just went out and did it. But and there is, if you go searching, I'm not going to tell you what video it is, but I did end up singing a song on here by accident when I thought the camera wasn't recording, but y'all will just have to go find that. But anyway, Music has always been a part of my life ever since I was a little bitty kid. I mean, little bitty kid. And the changes that I've seen in music, a lot of times when the changes happen, we never thought about it until we looked at it in retrospect or in hindsight. But my dad was a straight up country music, gospel, bluegrass man. He didn't get out of that lane, at least not when I was a kid. Now, my dad and my mom met in the 60s, 70s. He could have been different then, but the dad I knew when I grew up was a straight country music fan, and he was a straight George Jones fan. He would rather listen to George Jones over anyone else. He was that way till the day he died. I too am a George Jones fan, but I'm not just a George Jones fan. But you know, that music, I grew up with it. I grew up there was always music being played, always. And like I said, when I was with my dad, a lot of the times it was country music. Sometimes it would be some bluegrass, sometimes it would be some gospel music. But before my mom got killed, my mom introduced me to rock and roll music. Let me explain. Moo cow, moo cow, moo cow. My mom was a big influence in me learning what rock and roll music was. Now, my mom introduced me to Elvis. And believe it or not, guys, my mom introduced me to Michael Jackson. The first time I ever heard the Off the Wall album was on a car ride from my grandmother's house in Tennessee to our home in Georgia. The first time I ever heard Thriller was with my mom. My mom had the Thriller album. The first time I ever heard of the Righteous Brothers was through my mom. My mom loved country. Don't get me wrong, she loved country. She was a big Dolly Parton fan. She loved Patsy Cline, and she listened to Loretta Lynn. But my mom, she wasn't just a Dolly Parton fan. She would listen to Blondie. She would listen to, she would listen to Paula Abdul. My mom had a very eclectic taste, and I think that's where I get my taste for music, is from my mom. And after my mom got killed, the music was one of the things that kind of helped me get through my teenage years, because a lot of amazing things happened right there in that, from the 1980s into the 1990s, guys. There was a lot of amazing things that happened. And over the course of years, we had seen music change. We had seen country music go from Grand Ole Opry to Hee Haw. That's right, I grew up on Hee Haw. I still watch Hee Haw to this day on YouTube. The Hee Haw Honeys. Of course, Kenny Rogers would find him a wife out of the Hee Haw Honey cast. Mary Rogers would be his wife. Misty Rowe and Lisa Coolidge. There was just a bunch of fun, but the music was what Hee Haw was. It was a way to showcase new country. And man, everybody that you loved in the 80s and the early 90s, they went through the Hee Haw cast. Even the 60s and 70s. Guys like George Jones and Tammy Wynette were on Hee Haw. Hank Williams Jr. was on Hee Haw. He even co-hosted with Roy Clark a few times. So you got to see all of the upcoming stars like George Strait and Alan Jackson, I think. Garth Brooks even went through there. So if you were watching Hee Haw every week, you got to pretty well much see new artists before anybody else. And that's the way it was with the old WSM radio show called the Grand Ole Opry. Now you can listen to the old Grand Ole Opry radio on Spotify, and I do. And man, when you go back there, guys, you're talking about guys like Faron Young, Hank Sr., of course, Mother Maybelle Carter and the Carter family were regulars on the Grand Ole Opry. Of course, there you had June Carter, you had Anita Carter. You know, and Hank Williams was one of the biggest Grand Ole Opry stars there ever was. But you had all these people like Faron Young and String Bean, and you had Otis and Lonzo and Otis and Cousin Jody. You know, they were folks who came on your radio, and if you were lucky to have television, when it went to television, you could watch the Grand Ole Opry, and guys like Faron Young and ladies like June Carter Cash and Mother Maybelle Carter and Anita Carter and Faron Young, Hank Williams Sr., all those people were there with Roy Acuff and Lester Scruggs and Earl Flats. You know, all those people were there when television married into radio. And man, what memories. And I go back and I listen to the old Grand Ole Opry broadcast. The Grand Ole Opry still broadcasted on the radio up till just recently, every week. You know, when people and country stars join the Grand Ole Opry cast, they're there. I mean, they work for the Grand Ole Opry. That means when there is a broadcast, you know, your members of the Grand Ole Opry, like your Travis Tritts and your Marty Stewarts and, you know, your Pam Tillises and your Patty Lovelaces and your Vince Gills, they're there. They're there on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry singing for you. And that was part of the job requirement to become a member of the Grand Ole Opry. You had to live in Nashville. And when they called, you had to be there. And that's what cost Hank Williams Sr. to lose his job with the Grand Ole Opry, was because they would book him for dates, and, you know, through bad back, drinking, you know, Hank Sr. had a very bad back, and it kept him from doing a lot of things, but they ended up firing Hank Sr. from the Grand Ole Opry, and he was never right after that happened. But then you started seeing music change. The old guard, such as your Chet Atkins, your Porter Wagners, they started losing ground to guys like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, Johnny Paycheck, Chris Christopherson. There was a new flavor coming along. It was a little bit more raw. It was a little bit more gritty. It wasn't polished up with big orchestras behind them. And the outlaw movement was born. And of course, that was born in Austin, Texas, with Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings. And then they released the first album to ever go platinum in Nashville, and that was Wanted, The Outlaws, which was Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Tom Paul Glaser, and of course Jessie Coulter, the wife of Waylon Jennings. And man, they ruled the country airways for a long, long time, and they were all successful individually. But when the 80s came along, and this was the time when I started, you know, I was listening to music, but I wasn't paying attention to it until I got a little older. And I was hearing music for the first time. I remember the first time I ever heard Purple Rain. Now, my cousins, the female cousins, always made sure that I grew up listening to music. Kim, Angie, Vicky, Melissa. On my mom's side of the family, they were all loved music. And man, I can remember the first time I heard Purple Rain. I can remember the first time I heard Def Leppard, Poison. A friend of mine that I grew up with, David Jones, went over to his house one night, and he introduced me to Guns N' Roses because he had the Appetite for Destruction album. And man, we wore that tape out. Golly bum. Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child of Mine, in Paradise City. We were we popped the tape listening to those songs. But you know, I was introduced to all these different kinds of music, and I'm thankful for that. And like I said, I can listen from everything from AC/DC to Alan Jackson, from, you know, Blondie to Dolly Parton. Love Dolly Parton. I can listen to Dolly Parton all the time. I can listen from, you know, Loretta Lynn to Lainey Wilson, from, you know, Hardy to Randy Travis. I like all of it. But the 90s was the country music that I really loved, because we had a bunch of people get big in the 90s. Guys like Travis Tritt with Trouble, Here's a Quarter, Call Someone Who Cares. Randy Travis, Forever and Ever Amen. Sawyer Brown. Just a bunch that I can't remember. Little Texas, God Bless Texas. I know I'll forget most of the good ones, but what I'm saying is I would listen to a little bit of everything. But now I wasn't just listening only to the country. I was listening to Biggie, Notorious B.I.G. I was listening to Tupac out in California. I was listening to Snoop Dogg. I can remember going and buying Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style album. I listened to Tupac. And man, that hurt when those guys died. Because you knew that they still had more to give. I listened to NWA. I listened to Ice Cube. You know, I remember I remember back in the 90s when, if your name wasn't MC Hammer or Vanilla Ice, you wasn't getting a whole lot of airplay. Songs like Ice Ice Baby and You Can't Touch This, and man, we loved all that music because it was our generation. It was who we was. You know, Gen X was coming along and we were starting to make our mark on things. But you know, so that leads me to ask you guys a question. And like I said, I don't want you guys just to jump down into the comments and just answer this question while the video is going. I want you to think about it. And then if you have a YouTube channel, make your own video about music. I know Recycle Hooligan will have no trouble at all with this one. And, you know, I pay attention to the Hooligan because I know the Hooligan is a straight up Lynyrd Skynyrd band. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sick Bastard. I know Sick Boy. Sick Boy is a straight up Grateful Dead man. Nothing wrong with that. Moto Bomber Jr., he likes to just listen to, I think Moto's kind of like me. If it's got a cool guitar riff and a heavy drum solo, he's there for it. That's the way I am. But let me know, what do you think about music? What do you think about the changes that has happened to music? Because, you know, those changes from like the WSM Grand Ole Opry show to Hee Haw, they were changes, but they were big changes when they happened. Of course, now everything's auto-tuned, so it's a different world. But, you know, I'm talking about when guys opened their mouth back in the day. Guys like Conway Twitty. Conway Twitty was a rock and roll singer and a country music singer. You know, and when Conway Twitty opened his mouth and started singing, you knew who he was. Travis Tritt blurred together Southern rock and country. And when Travis started singing, you knew who he was. Marty Stewart was another one of those guys right there beside Travis Tritt. When those guys started singing, you knew who they were. When Bret Michaels from Poison started singing, you knew who he was. You didn't have to say, who is that singing? You go, oh, okay, well, that's Poison. C.C. DeVille was on the guitar. You know, when Angus Young plays a guitar riff and it's raw with Right On, Bon Scott, you know it's AC/DC. When the Highway to Hell opens up, you know it's Angus Young. You know it's Brian Johnson. You know, those folks that came along at a time that made it just that special. Because I could talk music all day long, and I can listen to music all day long, and I do listen to music all day long. When I'm at work, guys, my headphones are in, and I've got Spotify going, and I'm listening to music 6 days a week. I woke up this morning on a Saturday, went and put my headphones on, went on to YouTube and I just started listening to music. What'd you listen to this morning, T-Bone, that got you feeling this way? Well, I was listening to the Gatlin Brothers. Songs like All the Gold in California, I Wish You Were Someone I Loved, Houston Means That I'm One Day Closer to You. Listening to, Loretta Lynn sing about the pill. I was listening to some country, listening to Lainey Wilson, Wildflowers and Wild Horses. And then I'll go over there and I'll listen to Alana Miles, Black Velvet. And then I'll circle back around and I'll find myself on Ed Sheeran. And, I'm a big Ed Sheeran fan. Thinking Out Loud and Perfect are two songs of Ed Sheeran's that I absolutely love. And then I'll circle back around, and next thing you know, I'll have some Three Wooden Crosses by Randy Travis playing, or then all of a sudden you'll look around and I'll be up there and I'll have, I'll have some All Eyes on Me going by Tupac. My playlist read like a who's who of music. But that's just the way I was raised. And like I said earlier in the beginning of this video, I listened to that music because it spoke to me. I could find whatever I needed in that music. But I'll tell you what, guys, let me run over here and top off Big Papa. I've been riding him around on a half tank of gas now for a little while. He needs to be topped off with fresh gas. And we'll continue this conversation in just a minute, so y'all hang tight. Well, after I've run into everybody I know, Tony and Jen has pulled in. I was getting out of Copper Hill. I done drunk half a bottle of Mountain Dew trying to get out of here. Motorcycles everywhere today. And of course, that's what we were talking, was motorcycles, but we was talking music. Let's get back to what we were talking about. I can remember though, guys, like I was talking about there earlier about how music kind of shaped a lot of people's lives, but it shaped my life because it seemed like I could always find a song for the way I was feeling or what I was going through or trouble that I was having. And there goes a dirt track race car, squirrel. But I always was able to find a song to make me feel better. I guess to fit the mood, you could either, I could either be in a Hell's Bells mood from AC/DC, or I could be in a Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Kissing in the Dark mood, Fishing in the Dark, Kissing in the Dark, Fishing in the Dark. Or I could be in a Bellamy Brothers mood. The 80s and 90s, man, there was a lot of good music come out of the 80s and the 90s, and I'm not saying that they didn't before that. But what you had coming out of the older country set, now I'm talking about what we call now the golden oldies, guys like, and I'm a big George Jones fan, Conway Twitty fan, I love Merle Haggard, I love Hank Sr., I love Hank Jr., but you would get into those moods where you would listen to a little Hank Jr., you would want to put on some Rowdy Friends, or music changed, and Waylon and Willie changed that, like I said, when they entered the outlaw country. But rock music really has changed over the years, like Clutch. I like to listen to Clutch. Their song Regulator, I love that song. I love to listen to Maria Brink, and of course we would listen to Lita Ford, go back in the day and listen to Lita Ford, and of course Joan Jett. Everybody listened to Joan Jett. But I always tried to just make sure I never pigeonhole myself into a certain kind of music, because I liked everything. I liked to listen, like I said, I liked everything. I'd listen to soundtracks all the time. I would listen to one of my favorite soundtracks growing up was Dirty Dancing soundtrack. And of course you had a little bit of Otis Redding on there. You had some Patrick Swayze on there singing She's Like the Wind. You had then Back to the Future. You had Huey Lewis and the News. A lot of songs that made the soundtrack to our life. And of course, the Righteous Brothers with Unchained Melody. And then I listened to Blind Lemon Jefferson singing Black Snake Moan. And I would listen to Muddy Waters and Etta James. And I'd even listen to Aretha Franklin and old Tina and Ike Turner. I would listen to all that. I loved all that music. And I still do. I don't have one lane of music that I stay in. And a lot of times it's the mood. Now, what mood hits me the most? Sometimes I just love to hear some good mellow, just some good mellow music. I mean, just to mellow out to. When you've had a long day and, you're stressed out a little bit, that's where guys like Ed Sheeran comes in. And sometimes out on the motorcycle, I get a little bit rowdy and I get to want to listen to a little bit of Kid Rock. Maybe listen to a little bit of Uncle Kracker, Papa Roach. And then if I'm feeling real froggy, I get into some Metallica. But I've always tried never to pigeonhole myself into just one genre, one type of music. And I heard this said years ago, and I can't remember. It was in an interview with a musician where they said, if the music speaks to you, that's all you need. It's just for the music to speak to you. And man, all that music, like I said, when we were growing up, all that music, if you were in the country set, you were listening to Alan Jackson, Dwight Yoakam, Ricky Van Shelton. You were listening to Ricky Skaggs. You were listening to Merle Haggard. You were listening to, Randy Travis and Travis Tritt. Even old Billy Ray Cyrus with his Achy Breaky Heart. And then if you were in the pop set, you were listening to Michael Jackson's Bad album. You were listening, and if you were into the hip-hop, you were listening to Ice Cube, and you were listening to, Hammer, and you were listening to the Gangsters, which, Ice-T, and you were listening to, you get into Motorhead, and then I just bounce around. I always just bounce around. If it spoke to me, I'd listen to it. And I love listening to all kinds of music. That's why when, guys like Hooligan had reminded me here, it's been probably about a year ago, but he had put up a short and he had used a song from Winona called Rock Bottom, Winona Judd. And man, I had forgotten all about that song. I hadn't listened to that song. Now it's in my Spotify playlist and I hear it all the time. But, sometimes when you don't go back and recapture those old stuff, like I was talking about the Bellamy Brothers and the Gatlin Brothers. I love the Gatlin Brothers. I loved them when I was young, growing up, because to me, Larry Gatlin and his brothers, if you want to hear some of the best three-part harmony, personally, I feel like in music, not just in country music or rock music or whatever music, if you want to hear one of the best three-part harmonies, go listen to the Gatlin Brothers and listen to songs like, I Wish You Were Someone I Loved, All the Gold in California. Their harmonies, they were, when they were bands who could do it back then. Alabama had good harmonies. Kentucky Headhunters didn't have good harmonies, but they were just gritty, and I love listening to the Kentucky Headhunters, Confederate Railroad, Danny Shirley and the guys. I know I talk a lot about country because country was very prevalent in my life, but so was rock. I mean, I listen to Lynyrd Skynyrd, Southern rock. I listen to Lynyrd Skynyrd. I listen to AC/DC. I listen to Guns N' Roses. I listen to Metallica. I listen to Megadeth. Again, it was just according to what and then here a little while back, I had some music playing. I didn't have headphones in. And Regina said, "What are you listening to?" R1, she said, "What are you listening to?" And at the time, I was listening to Dean Martin. That's Amore. I like to listen to old Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, and I like all that old music. She's like, I didn't think you listened to stuff that old. I'm like, yeah, I go all the way back to the 30s with it sometimes. And what I mean by that is when you go back into the 30s and the 40s, you start listening to that, what they called back then, they called it hillbilly sound. Girl like the Carter family, Mother Maybelle Carter and the Carter family. It was old time sound. And then you go further even back to that, and you listen to Blind Lemon Jefferson. You know, everybody thought Samuel L. Jackson in that movie Black Snake Moan wrote the song Black Snake Moan. No, that song was written many, many years ago by a colored singer named Blind Lemon Jefferson. And I can listen to Blind Lemon sing all day long. Robert Johnson, you know, who everybody knows the story of Robert Johnson selling his roads at the crossroad. I can listen to the 33 songs that he laid down back to back, never even think twice about it. And of course, Muddy Waters. I can listen to Muddy Waters and, you know, Sam Cooke. I love Sam Cooke. You know, and if you've never watched a documentary on Sam Cooke, go watch a documentary, because, you know, everybody always talks about Martin Luther King Jr. losing his life for civil rights, and, you know, guys like Malcolm X. But go watch a documentary about Sam Cooke. You know, I believe a change is going to come is one song that Sam Cooke did that I absolutely love. I believe a change is going to come. And he, you know, he always started out that song, I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh yeah, I know all that old music. I listen to it because it's good music. It tells a story. And if you can get tied into the story that they're trying to tell, man, it can change your life. You know, and that's what I say about gangster rap. Everybody said, well, we don't listen to that crap. I listen to it, like NWA. You know, again, Tupac. They were telling the story about where they came from. They were telling you what life was like in, you know, Long Beach or wherever it was they were at. Even Biggie in New York, Notorious B.I.G. was telling you what it was like for him growing up in Bed-Stuy, you know, having to sell drugs to make ends meet. They told us what it was like in their story, and they told us their story, and through their story we got to see their world through their eyes. They were telling us about it. And yeah, oh yeah, I can turn up Tupac and get down to Tupac and Biggie and all day long. Ice Cube. And one of the funniest songs that I think is a great song also, if you want to talk about battle music, go back and listen to when Ice Cube left the NWA, he made a song called No Vaseline. Go listen. And then of course they would battle on the microphone like that. They would battle in albums. You know, Tupac, Hit 'Em Up. And of course Notorious B.I.G., Who Shot You. Hit 'Em Up and No Vaseline are probably the two most savage battle raps that ever came out. But so there it is, guys. I'm going to say we've got today's episode. But y'all remember, go make you a video yourself. Tell me about the music that affected you. Tell me about the music you grew up listening to and what you love to hear. As you can tell, I love everything from A to Z. I'm from everything from, you know, Hank Sr. to, you know, Ed Sheeran. I like it all in between. I like all music. I've even listened to some Russian Hammerstein, you know, some Russian heavy metal. That's a whole different world right there. That's great music. I'm gonna get this stuck in my head now, and I'm gonna have to go home and finish out the day listening to music, and I can't because I've got a video premiering this soon. This is South Oz video I made for South Oz, which I still haven't watched Big Papa Joker yet, but today ain't looking good, tomorrow ain't looking good either for it happening. But I'll tell you what, guys, I'm gonna call this video ended here. Y'all remember now, make the video for me, tag me in it, and we'll come and watch it. We'll leave you a comment and we'll give you a thumbs up. But until the next time, guys, y'all remember to take care of yourselves Take care of each other. And hey, thanks for watching.